We call them man's best friend, but sometimes we haven't been theirs. If you look at your dog right now, you see a soul that wants nothing more than to help you. And for thousands of years, that's exactly what they did. They didn't just give us their hearts, they gave us their bodies, they ran in endless circles to cook our meals, they grew heavy coats to make our blankets, they stood on the front lines of our wars. They didn't ask for a salary, they just wanted to be with us. But when technology replaced them, we didn't just fire them, we let them go extinct. Today, we're going to remember the dogs that history forgot. We're going to tell the stories of the loyal workers who didn't make it to the modern sofa. Welcome back to Happy Tales. Today, we're opening the cold case files of history. We're looking at the breeds that were too specialized, too aggressive, or simply replaced by a machine. Please note, this video is for educational purposes only. The animal behaviors discussed are historical and specific to the breeds mentioned. If you want to understand the survivor sleeping at the foot of your bed, hit that subscribe button right now. Do it for the ones who were left behind. Let's meet the dogs we deleted. Chapter 1: The Laborer. If you walked into a British kitchen in the 1700s, you would see something disturbing. Suspended on the wall, high above the fire, was a giant wooden wheel, and running inside it was a dog. This was the Turnspit Dog. This was not a pet, it was a prisoner of utility. They were bred with a cruel physiological purpose. They had long, heavy bodies and short, crooked legs. Why? Because a normal dog could not fit inside the wheel. We shaped their bodies to fit the job. Their life was incredibly hard. They would run for hours, spinning the meat so it would not burn. In large manor houses, they worked in shifts. One dog ran until collapse, then the cook swapped them for the second dog. They did get one day off, Sunday, but even that was not for rest. Their owners took them to church to use as living foot warmers on the cold stone floors. They were literally used to keep human feet warm while the humans prayed. They were so traumatized by their job that we have a famous historical record from a church in Bath. The bishop was reading from the Bible, and he quoted the line from the book of Ezekiel that says, "It was then that Ezekiel saw the wheel." The moment the dogs heard the word wheel, they bolted for the door. They thought they were being called back to the kitchen. So why don't you have a Turnspit dog today? Because of technology. In the 19th century, we invented the mechanical motor. The moment the machine arrived, the dog became obsolete. We stopped breeding them, and within a few decades, the breed that cooked our food for centuries was gone forever. Coming up, we're going to look at the dog that went extinct because it was too angry to fall in love. But first, let's travel to the Pacific Northwest. Chapter 2: The Living Treasure. While the British were using dogs for power, the coast Salish people were using them for production. Meet the Salish Wool Dog. For thousands of years, these dogs were the source of wealth for an entire civilization. They were bred for one specific thing: their fur. It was thick, white, and soft. The Salish people would shear them like sheep every summer and weave their fur into valuable blankets. Historians thought this was a myth until 2023, when the Smithsonian proved it was real. They analyzed the DNA of a dog named Mutton, the last known wool dog who died in 1859. The study revealed a fascinating biological secret. These dogs were kept in genetic isolation for 5,000 years. The Salish people kept them on separate islands or in gated caves to stop them from breeding with common hunting dogs. They were even fed a special marine diet of salmon and elk to keep their coats shiny. So what happened? Economics. When European settlers arrived, they bought cheap, machine-made blankets. Suddenly, the labor-intensive dog wool lost its financial value. The fences came down, the wool dogs interbred with common village dogs, and their unique genetic lines simply dissolved into history. The extinction carried a heavy cultural cost. The wool dog was central to Salish society, where women controlled the wealth through weaving. When the dog vanished, a pillar of indigenous female independence collapsed with it. We didn't just lose a breed, we lost a way of life. It's important to note that extinction isn't always about vanishing. Sometimes it's about absorption. We see this with the Talbot Hound, a white hunting dog from the Middle Ages. They didn't die out because they were useless, they died out because they were the prototype. Breeders realized the Talbot had an incredible nose but was too slow, so they crossed them with faster hounds to create the modern Beagle and Bloodhound. The Talbot didn't disappear into nothingness, it disappeared into the DNA of the dogs we love today. It was the biological foundation that had to be buried to build the modern house. Chapter 3: The Mismatch. Sometimes a breed doesn't die because of technology, it dies because of a mistake, a very dangerous human mistake. After World War II, the Soviet Union wanted to create the ultimate super dog. They needed a rescue dog that could survive the freezing Russian oceans but was tough enough to guard a Navy base. So the Red Star Kennel had a brilliant idea. They took the Newfoundland, the gentle giant of water rescue, and bred it with the Caucasian Shepherd, one of the most aggressive guard dogs on Earth. The result was the Moscow Water Dog. On paper, it was perfect. It had the swimming power of the Newfoundland and the muscle of the Shepherd, but there was a problem deep in their psychology. When a Newfoundland sees a drowning person splashing, they instinctively want to help. But when the Moscow Water Dog saw a person splashing, its guard dog genetics kicked in. It didn't see a victim, it saw an intruder acting crazy. In their confused instinct, they tried to rescue the sailors by grabbing them like intruders. Reports confirm that they would bite the drowning victims on the arms and neck, trying to subdue the very people they were sent to save. The Soviet Navy realized that a rescue dog that attacks the victim is impossible to work with. But this wasn't the dog's fault. We gave them contradictory instructions. We asked them to save us and fight us at the same time. The program was scrapped. The breed was phased out by absorbing it into the Black Russian Terrier program, a much more successful experiment that's still with us today. Chapter 4: The Tragedy of Rage. Finally, we have the dog that was simply too angry to exist. The Cordoba fighting dog of Argentina. This breed was created for the fighting pits. It was legendary for its pain tolerance and its willingness to fight to the death, but the breeders made a fatal calculation. They bred the aggression so high that the breed became biologically tragic. When breeders tried to mate a male and a female, the dogs would not court each other, they would instantly try to kill each other. The human-designed rage overrode the natural survival instinct. A doctor named Antonio Nors Martinez realized this dog was a functional failure, but he saw potential in their strength. He decided to save the lineage. He took the last remaining Cordoba dogs and mixed them with 10 other breeds, including the Boxer for gentleness, the Pointer for scent, and the Great Dane for height. He diluted the rage and kept the courage. The result was the Doggo Argentino, a dog that can hunt in a pack without fighting. The Cordoba died out, but its spirit lives on inside the Doggo. Chapter 5: The Survivors. It's easy to look at these extinct breeds as failures, but they were not. They were exactly what we asked them to be. We asked them to work, so they worked. We asked them to fight, so they fought. They gave us everything we asked for, even when it cost them their existence. The dogs we have today, your beloved golden retriever, your poodle, are the survivors. They're the ones who graduated from being tools to being family. So the next time your dog is sleeping lazily on the couch, don't call them lazy. Be grateful. Because history shows us that for a dog, being unemployed is the greatest luxury of all. This has been Happy Tales. If you want to know more secrets about the dog on your couch, watch this next video. See you there.